Yes, I know it took a while. We are here now and going live. It is a lot of information to cover, so bear with me as we move through it. At the end of this session, we will have a Q&A, should we not be asleep by that stage. Now, as we are going through this via slides, the handy thing will be that you can actually look forward, look back, look to your zodiac sign, because they will be up on screen in no set order. However, you will have the banner that is going to indicate where it is for you. Those of you that wish to timestamp, much appreciated. Generally, I do pre-record these and do the editing and back energy usually, but we did miss the new moon in Gemini. And half of us are probably feeling that that energy really was not a new moon. Okay. It was like, okay, was that a new moon? Yeah, it was. But you're also getting this dynamic at the moment with hard aspects that's really significantly affecting us at this point, because it's sort of like a Mercury retrograde, but it's not, because we are kind of bogged down with this Saturn energy at this point in time. So it's kind of acting a little bit like a Debbie Downer. It's like you're going to have really creative ideas, which is fantastic. And my best advice to you would be at this time with these creative new beginnings, and I'm going to really discuss for each zodiac sign where these things are coming up, how these things can be playing out. And it is going to be significant for a year. However, there are some other transits that are occurring, and I am going to put some predictive energies up as well as looking at your zodiac signs. So hopefully, although the Gemini moon has passed, it's still the resonance of the energy that we're going through. I did notice it has been several days. I did have some personal things going on in my life, so I wasn't able to get here any sooner, but I still feel it's quite critical that we know this information. Now, in layman's terms of a moon, what we need to understand is a new moon is rejuvenation. And being in the house of Gemini, intellectually and physically, Saturn has really been putting pressure on us to level up, to try and dream the dream, make those dreams possible. Now, two of the big boy planets are going to be going retrograde at the moment. We are very close to the energy of Saturn going retrograde, and I'll give you the exact date because it's going to be quite key in the context of this. Where is it? Okay, as of the 29th, it will be retrograde. Now, we're already in the shadow energy, and this is something we need to understand. You do tend to, easy 4 to 8 weeks, you are getting the signature of this. So currently, it is going to be going retrograde as of the 29th. And by the time it does go retrograde, Neptune begins its shadow, easy, well and truly. Now, how do we look at that dynamic going on in the context of the moon? It has been making some really hard aspects. So we'll come back to this in a minute. But as to the aspects, this month in the mix with this moon, we had so many planets in the house of Gemini. We had the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter. Jupiter technically is deemed as in its detriment in the house of Gemini. It doesn't do well. They're opposite polarities. Jupiter wants to expand. Gemini wants to think about it. Gemini needs to map it out and plan. And, Jupiter's adventurous. Jupiter's like, let's just go. So they're opposites, although they're asking us to almost put the footings down in life. So you could literally look at this from a logical point of view, is doing less gets more. And it's a polar opposite to what it's asking us to do. So it's fine tuning. It's getting the footings down in those particular areas. It can be a lot of things, but we will get into that as we move further into this. So understanding that all of this energy was all in one house was really getting us very intellectually fatigued. We also had the Schumann. We had some solar activity going on. Now, it was sitting, all of these were sitting in the house of Gemini between the 6th and the 7th. They were all in the zodiac sign of Gemini, really ushering in those subjects. Now, we also do have now Sun, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, they're currently in the house of Gemini. Saturn has been making hard aspects, okay? It's been making squares. So like I said, a lot of you, if you were trying to have those new beginnings in the area, the domain of Gemini, depending on where those points are in your personal chart, one place I always advise people that directly follow me, especially from a learner's point of view, if you want to look at your birth chart and to start that comprehension and understanding, the most simplest way to do it, I would say, is to go to astroseek.com and to just write in Google, write AstroSeek birth chart. And what you're going to do is scroll down, click on birth chart, and you're going to enter in your details. It gives you an option if you don't know your exact time of birth, and you roughly can calculate. And at a basic guide, it's going to give you some planets. It is important to know that. You can go to astrologers and they can look at particular aspects or situations that happened in your life, and they can directly calculate roughly what houses would have been more likely to be at your time of birth. But as a reference point, it is a very simple way to get your birth chart. It gives you the breakdown of the houses, and you would need to look for points in your chart of Gemini and the shadow sign Sagittarius as well, because we are really facing our shadow in the context of this. Between the Jupiter expansion, our philosophies, our belief systems are really going to be transferred. But definitely at this point in the game, what we can find is a lot of us during the moon, we're feeling very fatigued. You might have felt just really run down, like you needed to go to sleep. You also could have really been feeling as though you wanted to get the house clean. You wanted to get those dynamics sorted. You had so much going on. You might have also felt very, very overwhelmed that you just couldn't do it all. It's like, how do I get all of these things done? Psychological exhaustion, almost like everyone wanted a piece of you, and it's going to continue, my love. So it's how can we fine tune our life to a point this is a manageable situation. And I was having a candid chat to the members, because we do actually discuss these elements, how they're emotionally going to impact us, where they can be hitting our chakra points, and how we can navigate this situation to get the best out of it. So these things can be quite key. Locations where we may see coming up in the media, and this can be within the year as well as surrounding this month, being that we had a new moon in Gemini. This could have started playing out 2 weeks ago. You generally find, from a predictive point of view, astrologically, a lot of times the month before this month's energy has already started occurring. So I can give you some of my predictions and you can Google them, and more than likely you're going to see these themes. It's very common for these things to play out well and truly ahead of time. So the locations where subjects to do with this month's energy as well as the moon can be London, Plymouth, England, France, Libya, Germany, USA, Belgium. I can't pronounce that, and Newport. Okay, but there's a whole lot of other areas. I do believe Cyprus also has Gemini in their chart. So again, these can be some particular areas and locations where we can see coming up in the media. And it directly, inadvertently, all these transits, not only at a personal level are they going to affect us, they're also going to affect the subject matters of what the zodiac sign brings. So we're going to look at, I'll move these around because we will get to Saturn in a minute. We're going to look at the aspects of Gemini. So what do we need to think about when we're looking at Gemini? This can, and the first thing I thought, and I was like, I wonder if this is coming back in the media. I wonder if it's still there, because I'm so busy all the time working. Gossip Girl, okay? Things to do with media, okay? Now, we already have had the aspect of AI, changes radically happening in AI. What's real, deep fakes. We're seeing a lot of it. The other thing I was picking psychically was propaganda. So we're having to be very cautious about what we believe, digging deeper, doing some research. We're also spiritually going to go back on our value systems between Jupiter and Gemini. to do with our conditioning, what our parents taught us. Was it a fallacy? Was it a truth? Almost like the old wife remedies. We're going to be looking at those things and going, hey, you know, and Giggle and I were talking about it tonight. And it is an element of what those things can be. The things that we were taught, the belief systems we were born and incarnated into this kind of tribe with, and where we're now going back to review. So don't be surprised if you know, moving into this chapter, what you believed as a truth may very well within a year evolve, so it can really change. So definitely gossip, we need to be extremely cautious of it. Take it with a grain of salt. Try to avoid it as much as possible, and research. Propaganda also. Our daily routines can really be changing. So we can be fine-tuning our life at this point in time to have more success and stability, especially because if we have felt since 2020, things have been deeply serious. We may be looking at different ways that we can do things. Our wellness also with nutrition can be transforming and changing. And we may find that things that are not good for us, that we directly are looking at and saying, okay, I really need to kick that habit. I really need to change things up. It's impacting my work. It's impacting my rest. It's impacting my time to play. Everything is too serious. So these kind of transits at this point in time this month, we're having a lot of reflection. We're having a lot of downloads. We're looking at it and saying to ourselves, okay, in order for me to proceed forward with my plans, with my love life, with my career, with whatever area it is, like I said, we're going to get into your zodiac signs. I can give you potentials of how those things can play out. We will be reviewing those and launching simultaneously. The other thing is the next moon that's coming up, you want to stick around for that one because it is in the house of Capricorn and Pluto will be moving back there. So, you know, a lot of the energy we're moving into at a global level, at a personal level, is going to be more intuitive. It's going to be more fluid. It's going to be more flexible. However, we can be coming into this month like the old school energy, which may not necessarily help us. We may add too much onto our plate. We may get into the notion of work, 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 no play. And you might not feel that yet, but trust me, it's on its way. So don't get suckered into it. I just keep hearing the term keep it simple, stupid. And I'm not trying to be rude. That's just the best analogy I can come up with at this point in time. The other thing I've really deeply noticed, and Gemini, it can be to do with language, speech, thought, breathing, is languages. Okay, so we can see, again, AI coming through. We can be very interested in other cultures and other languages. We may find AI tools to actually communicate in different ways where we directly can communicate with various, you know, one video goes up and simultaneously it could be that it can speak in a different language. We also can be really interested in language, point blank zero. Plus our communication styles. What we're going to notice is it's almost like failure to launch. We're going to find that people are misunderstanding what we're directly saying. And so we've really got to get to a visual, I would say, to look at that person to see if the information has landed for them as you're speaking to them. And I don't know why I get the language of love. It's almost like we're going to have to find a unique way to speak that person's language. And sometimes it can be going back to very simple terms so the person can digest that information until you can work out the intellect or the absorption level. So through education, for instance, we do have some individuals where it's audio. We have other individuals where the way they learn is reading. Other individuals can be visual. So we're going to find that, and definitely we can see the schooling and education really transforming through this. Media, radio, things to do with children, our belief systems, how we live our lives, what we do in our routine, independence as well. And the one thing I can say, we're going to get into Jupiter in a minute, so that we can get a combination of how these things can play out together. Independence, you are going to find within relationships, within your career, we can be a bit, what would the word be? Defiant. That's not to say Gemini's defiant. Gemini's very independent, actually. Gemini does like to have a relationship, But what it doesn't like is control. That is people controlling them. So we're going to learn to have relationships in different ways now. Individual, but also with spiritual freedom. So it's not an ownership situation. It's a choosing to be there. It's choosing to have your own identity. And especially with the North Node currently in Aries, I do think the few weeks we're moving through this moon lunation, we can actually find there's a bit of a pushback. We can be very vocal to do with things. Because we are misinterpreting, misunderstanding, or becoming defiant through that vibration. So yes, there can be dramas in relationships temporarily. Although what we will need to know is with these transits with Jupiter and Gemini, we will need to understand the other person's belief systems and take those situations into account and not try to make the other person us, but also to be able to be an independent thinker and independent within the connection. And as I mentioned, social experiences. So Jupiter, what's Jupiter? Jupiter can link to large items. Now, this can be submarines, this can be trucks, this can be boats, it could be physical mountains, anything large, okay? Also to do with travel, the travel industry, transportation. With the combination, this could bring some very interesting dynamics. It could be issues with transport and trade because one is local, one is long distance. I definitely do feel we will see accidents in these domains because they're opposite polarity. So there's a very, very good potential. And I noticed as soon as Jupiter, and I mentioned this to all my friends, I said, you watching the media, I guarantee you. And literally, I had pages, and you can Google it yourself, from the date that Jupiter ingressed into Gemini. There were a lot of plane crashes. And I was like, you know what, Bali's. And that's not to say it's going to be permanent, but there can be some changes. I definitely also felt, because Gemini can be more the first thing I thought was economy class is going to change on airplanes. It's going to be upgraded. And sure enough, if you Google it, they are definitely upgrading airplanes with new features, with new comforts for economy travelers, for the local Joe blog, as we say here in Australia. But there also can be some airlines that are actually going under, because what it's bringing is those that are stronger and willing to go the distance, willing to change, willing to look at their technology. Definitely going to change. And there can be a lot of upskilling that is happening in those particular areas, a lot of review, a lot of new laws, a lot of more training and education to do with it. So also we have large animals, expansion, philosophy. So our deeper philosophies are going to be changing. We're going to be very interested. It could be anything down to philosophy, wisdom, beliefs, culture, spicy foods, for instance. We're going to like cuisine in a certain way. Generally, when you have Jupiter, you tend to want to go and have a food from another culture. We tend to be interested in laws. New laws can come about. Religion, cults, gurus, divorces and marriages. Yes. Litigation as well is possible. Now, Jupiter's not negative, but we can't, and I always say this, everyone's like, Jupiter's great. Jupiter's great. Not so great in Gemini. It's actually my Jupiter return, and I'm already experiencing it. Way too much going on. However, it can bring darker side of things as well, because it depends on what we circle ourselves, which we will actually be looking at very shortly inside your chart. Last but not least, Saturn. Now, Saturn and Neptune will be going retrograde, as I mentioned. We have the date, which is the 29th, I believe. Neptune. Okay. Where is it? Okay, so Saturn on the 29th is going retrograde at 19 degrees. Jupiter's ingressing very quickly as well, so it's gone from 0 to 3 degrees, I believe, already. So, yeah, don't be surprised if you feel everything's coming at you. Neptune is already at 29 degrees. Now, Neptune and I, we don't completely get on. it gives me some humble truths. You know, it's a bitter pill to swallow, but it also prevents me from going. What I've experienced from Neptune is it prevents me during its retrograde cycle. I have deep revelations. I feel very disillusioned. I definitely can say with both Saturn and Neptune going retrograde, over the next few weeks, be very careful with pacifiers. We may want to tap out. We may need to reach out, contact Better Health if you feel things are getting too much, because it is a lot to do with psychology, sitting in the house of Pisces. It's where we feel stuck. 12th house can be an interesting energy. It can be to do with gurus. It can be to do with end of life. New beginnings, like endings and new beginnings. The vault are very psychic in nature, but also there are possibilities, especially for those of you that are very susceptible, maybe psychic in nature, having night terrors and things to that degree. And if your aura is quite low and you're unwell, for instance, what you can find is you're more prone to psychic attacks. So to protect yourself, you can clear your house. That Gemini moon was a real good opportunity to get things in order and to clean the physical environment, to clean our bodies as well, and to eat food that is going to be good for us, because being that it is a kind of Mercury energy, it can relate to our higher heart chakra, breathing, etc., eating. So eating things that are going to support ourselves. Again, this is not medical or professional advice. This is astrological. Always seek a professional for that physical advice. But using tourmaline and onyx, if you're wanting to go through a detox, citrine can really support that. It also can help you to have courage and to have the sacral chakra to really be charged and balanced during this time. Great time to journal, because you really don't want to be going to bed with that shit. Honestly, if you've got a lot on your plate and you've been thinking a lot and you're just finding you're not being able to get it off your chest, it could be really key that we actually journal these things down and get them off our chest. When we return to it, what we can find is it's very possible that we could actually find some physical solutions during that time. So this also could be a good opportunity to do such. So with Saturn, it can be during its retrograde that we find if we've had no time and if we've felt that we've had to think about a lot of things, during its retrograde, we could have some revelations. We also could have a little bit more time to reflect upon where our responsibility is with things, because Saturn is very responsible. It structures. It could be that we are having a lot of dealings maybe with professionals. This could be accountants. It could be government agencies, your bank, etc. Really having to deal with a lot of circumstances that feel responsible, hierarchies. Separately, it can be that you suddenly have a revelation that you've been taking on a responsibility that wasn't yours. New rules, new laws, maybe cracking old cases. We tend to have with Saturn teeth, bones, time. We can find we're going to have more time now. We also could have difficulties with having time to socialize and deal with our personal responsibility. So during its retrograde, initially it can feel a bit big, but then it also can be a review about how we're going to do those things. Neptune will follow next month. It will be in shadow. So both our revelations to do with our physical movement moving forward, it is going to evolve. So my predictions at this point, those locations I mentioned, I definitely do feel some things can be coming up. I'll be brutally honest. Yes, aspects between transits, between shifting from Pisces over to Gemini, we have had significations of war in the past. That's World War One and World War Two. However, we do have more planets next year moving into the house of Gemini, and there is a possibility. So, although this is dealing with an old situation in order to bring in something new, we could see more themes to do with those things in the media. Separately, we may find there are subjects to do with protests. It could be around schools. We've already seen that because Sagittarius can be sort of like universities. And again, our routines and what we're doing and how we're doing things for fun. We really may be having deep conversations with family and having different kind of experiences with our family or our physical home environment. It could be more busy these days where you find you're really needing to find a way to balance your lifestyle and to change things up. But I definitely feel for a lot of us, we will actually be moving through and making some big changes in our physical home environment. Now we're going to have a look at Capricorn. We're going to get straight into this. How many Capricorns do we have in the house? Do we have any beautiful Capricorns? Grab coffee. Have you got a coffee? I hope you got a coffee. Who's Capricorn in the house? Do we have any Caps? Oh, you guys are probably going to be fed up soon because we are having a full moon in Capricorn coming up. So you want to stick around for that one. It's going to be quite interesting. And yes, Pluto is going to be re-ingressing into the house of Capricorn. And I know you all hate me for that because you did have it there for quite a while and it was causing a bit of havoc. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be something bad, but it could be that you're revisiting some of those old circumstances that happened as it was from Capricorn moving into Aquarius. Now, for you at this point in time, Saturn has been causing some bugbears for you. Surprise, surprise. I'll just get your chart. I've got paperwork everywhere because, like I said, I literally had to quickly get all the banners up. I do have a new video for the intro, but I haven't plugged it in because I just ran out of time, honest to gospel. So, Capricorn, for you. Okay, there could be some paperwork that you're needing to deal with. You also could find some of you could be having headaches at this point in time. Some of you could be thinking quite a bit. There could be things happening with your siblings as well, and your intuition. So there's a lot of activation with your third eye. But again, your day-to-day routine, short trips, very Mercury in nature, having to, go about and do things, maybe communicating quite a bit. There could be some telephone calls that you're dealing with. There could be, time when you're spending maybe on social media or people contacting you. Something could also intellectually be overwhelming you. It is going to dissipate, okay? Especially if you needed to sign something and you were really worried or you we're trying to map something out. Again, it does feel that paperwork element of things could be coming through. Some of you also, from this Gemini axis, you may need to care for your wellness at this point because it's linking to your sixth house. Now, sixth house can be kind of handy, I will say, because what it does is it gives you a revelation. Now, it could be nutrition-wise, you will have, again, I'm not a health professional, but the sixth house can relate to health, pets, bad habits we have. This also can expand those situations. Now, it can go from one extreme to another. It could be that you are wanting to get fit. It could be that you're saying, you know what, I've had enough. I want to go to an extreme. I want to join a gym. I want to get fit. The other it can do is because you have too much on your plate, there could be some emotions that come up and belief systems that are spiritually going to change. The sixth house can also create major structure to have success in business, to have success in love, to look at things from a different perspective. You also can realize that some of the people that are around you could be impacting your health. And you may be looking at, why do I put up with this? How do I address this? How do I transform it so I don't become a doormat? So it can be that there are some physical changes going on there. You also can find that if there are any hidden things that are going on that you are unsure about, go and get it checked. That's to do with your wellness. Separately, you can also have some subjects to do with pets coming up. It could be that you decide that you want to get a cat or a dog or a chicken or whatever it be, but there can be an opportunity for a new animal to come into your life. More than likely, it can be large. You also can meet individuals with this placement. This could also be at a gym. This also can be at a school. There is an opportunity in romance to meet somebody through these realms for some of you. What else do I need to tell you before we move on to the next? I definitely do feel in your career area, there could be some, a lot of you might have been really feeling it in May, where you needed to transform, change. It could have been a facelift on a business. It might have been shifting things around, how you work, what your purpose is, your identity. Some of you could be feeling as though you're having a bit of an existential crisis with your identity. It is actually perfectly normal. The South Node at the moment is in the House of Libra, and the North Node is in the House of Aries. So where it comes to your purpose in life, who you want to be, where you want to go, you may find at this point in time it's deeply evolving. And some of those things you thought you were or thought you were going to do are going to be very different. And now that's not a bad thing. The South Node is generally where we maybe weren't getting as much success. Maybe we were really comfortable in that one arena of life. And now your status in that area is going to be transforming. And it definitely can have the success, especially come September, October. If you had avoided and not actually addressed it and transformed that direct area, what you're going to find is as we move to September and October, it's going to re-come up again. It's not going away till it's addressed. Now, that's not a bad thing. It's going to be a positive thing. The other thing I can say with the North Node is it links to your fourth house. Now, some of you also, where it does come to your home, this could be home-based business, this could be your physical environment. You may find that you are being very protective. Some of you could be adding security to your home. Some of you also may be more assertive where it comes to your family members, where it comes to creating boundaries with individuals. And you also, for those of you that are doing anything around the home, children, family, your own feminine element energy inside of you, be it you're a male or a female, you can be transforming that. There can be a lot of inner child wounds also that are coming up during this time for your zodiac, but you are going to have the courage to move forward. You are going to have the courage to be your own individual. Some of you also could feel as though you're really wanting to move and transform. This could be people moving in or people moving out, or you selling or buying. There is an option for you in those domains. The other thing at the moment is we do have Mars in the House of Taurus. This also can be a point where you may be very creative. You also could have romance coming in at this time. It's going to be very, very passionate. It's almost like, I don't know why I get War of the Roses. It can be quite passionate. The other thing I can say is emotional eating is a possibility. Mars is really, it goes in and gets it. And the Taurian energy is very Venus in nature. So there is a possibility during this time that you will have huge cravings. Just in case you didn't know. It's not going to be there permanently. It's very short term, but don't be surprised if you go for the cookie jar because it likes things that are Venus. You could be very passionate. You could be dressing very, you could be dressing very sexy. So you will be wanting to look for that kind of Venusian energy coming up for your zodiac sign. Virgo. How are you, Virgo? Lots about to change, especially because Saturn's about to go retrograde on the 29th. We're getting the shadow. Neptune will, if there are anything in your relationship sector that you wanted to change or any cracks in the circumstance, you're definitely going to find you're going to be sensing it at this point in time. Try to not get overwhelmed. You may emotionally go inside yourself to directly reflect upon this situation. And, during this time, no, it's for you. Everything that happens is for you. And again, next year we are having kind of the transits really shift into the house of Pisces. So, these subjects are going to re-come up. Saturn's there. It's feeling very responsible. You've got also Neptune there. It's dreamlike. It can be addictive tendencies. It can be fear of new beginnings. And it also can be that you're really private within your romantic sector. Now, as it goes retrograde, any reviews that happens in your marriages, contracts, and partnerships, this could be with your friendship groups. It can be with a physical working contract. It could be with your money and how you deal with it. All of those things can be changing, and you may have some revelations and want to make some changes. The other thing is, from a nutrition point of view, it can be that you're kicking a habit. This would be a time, again, I would say, for your zodiac sign, where it does come to these energies. Really making sure that you are aware of how your energy can get quite pixelated. You can get quite agitated and stressed. So really listening to your body, getting to a space that you can say, okay, I'm burnt out, I'm tired, I need to rest. What can I do? Maybe using code words with individuals so that they're not personalizing the circumstance, and you can have some space to actually do that. Now, the moon in Gemini for you, Virgo, links to your 10th house. This can be an opportunity. This could be anything down to you're becoming a guru, you're becoming more spiritual. You might want to talk about your philosophies and beliefs, and it could be somehow merging. Suddenly you may find that you want to run a business. Now, again, I will say, for all of us, we have to understand this energy currently we are finding where, was it a great time to launch a project? Probably not, because it was making hard aspects. Could we start putting the footings down, start writing down and journaling what it's going to be and how it's going to be, and allow it to come through? 100%. I would definitely say that's the best. But in the long term, remember, Jupiter is going to be sitting here for a year. So there still is that opportunity for you to go to a higher level. Now, this can mean a lot of travel. This can mean short trips, long trips. This can be going back to school, upskilling, becoming a teacher, looking at philosophy, making sure you look at all your contracts and try and keep things above board. There also could be a circumstance of challenges surrounding those areas, because theoretically it isn't its detriment. Overall, it's going to bring you benefits. But again, what you will find is it could be for a year you are working on these things. You're working and you're going up the ladder. You're progressing, you're moving. But definitely you can be very interested in other cultures. You can be very interested in long distance travel. You may want to expand your connections and horizons. And share your information and share your experiences, but it's definitely going to be quite adventurous. But at times you may find, especially at this point in time, that something's bogging you down. Because you are a Mercury sign, I also would say keep your emotions in check and make sure that you're not burning yourself out. And definitely with the moon in Gemini and you being a Mercury energy, I would say try to not overschedule yourself. You will become quite overwhelmed if you're feeling you need to be in 100 places at once, and you're going to have to really navigate these transits for the year quite cautiously, because it can expand everything, and especially where it does come to the 9th house, it could directly impact your psychology if you're not caring for yourself. So know your limits. I would say be excited about things, but also be very realistic. Don't be so realistic you don't try anything at all, because Jupiter's there to bring you benefits. But also don't go to extremities where you feel you could clean 10 houses in a day, travel to Africa and come back in time. Just be realistic with those things. Now, the North Node for you, Saturn is bringing responsibilities, teeth, bones, time, things to do with maybe hierarchy and family also can be coming up. And new beginnings. You also could worry about a new beginning. You could be mulling over a circumstance very privately and not sharing it with maybe a work colleague or a partner or individuals around you. You could be keeping something really, really private at this point in time and not want to share it. It's almost like you're reflecting upon it before you decide to, start whatever that is. Could it be if you are in a very toxic relationship, you choose to go in a different direction? For some of you, yes, it could be. But again, ninth house generally is going to take you to something more beneficial, is going to expand the situation. So it doesn't have to be negative at all. Last wrap up for the two positions, because I think it's quite key. I would definitely say, because Mars is in Taurus, it's going to be expanding these areas for you. But I also feel you're going to have a lot more responsibility, okay? I definitely feel that there could be you taking on a role. It could be a community role. I would say also there could be some conflict relating to your belief system. So just don't take it personal. Try to, and it's very hard to say that, especially with all this energy at this point in time. But it might be that we need to really, get grounded and try to not take things so personal, even though it's going to be very difficult, especially when it does come to our deeper philosophy. Okay, income can really be changing. If you guys have felt as though, oh my gosh, where is the money going? You're going to find some of you might have sold a house. Some of you might be getting rid of assets that you feel you don't resonate with. You also could be looking at your professional resources and your physical material wealth and saying, okay, I want to transform. Some of the things that you own, you're just not going to resonate with at this point in time. So don't be surprised between now and the end of the year. If you really do not want certain things, September and October seems like a key theme, especially surrounding finances. And I definitely feel, to be very cautious with your wealth, to really care for your wealth. And I feel a lot of you are having a different relationship with it at this point in time. Confidence and diet definitely shifting. And I feel you're communicating more when you need things. Now, I do feel there can be passion and exchanges happening in the most intimate relationships, the things you can directly depend on. You could be working extremely hard to get to a place where you are choosing to only work with individuals that are willing to work with you. Now, the 8th house can be a lot to do with births, deaths, legacies, inheritances, other people's money. If you're running a business, it can be suddenly that you're getting sundries coming in, you're getting money coming from a stream. An example would be a YouTuber and they have videos hosted on their website for $5 and they're getting a physical income from that. This is other people's money. If anyone owes you money, you may find that can be coming back to you. And again, you can also be looking at the give and take within connections. If anything is hidden and you're going to extremes and getting burnt out, you also may find that you need to care for yourself. Now, Taurus, your zodiac sign also has been going through some big changes. Jupiter has just left a sign. Jupiter, especially when it links to certain placements, grows things. So your horizons would have grown, your philosophies, your beliefs, your physical image could have changed quite radically. Now, yes, it could have been that you became va-va-voom. But from my experience with Jupiter in particular houses, it also can expand things. So if you did feel as though, gosh, it could have been that you hit the gym and you look buff. The opposite spectrum of things can be that it expanded you. This can be a time now that it's moved out of the house where if you did want to get, the body that you desire, however that look, it can be more possible now because Jupiter has left the house and it's moved into your next house. Now, where is that? It's your second house. So your income is going to be changing. Your confidence is going to be changing. How you speak, how you eat, how you move, what your routine is, where your finances are coming from. There are going to be opportunities for you here. You also may look to it. You could be attracted to different things, a lot of technology, a lot of things that you're wanting to attain. It could be that you want to buy choking physical vehicle. So this could be caravan, an RV, a larger car, going on holidays. Whatever your goal is, there's a likelihood you're going to achieve it with this placement. The other warning I would give you, Jupiter tries to bring beautiful things to you. Opportunities. This could have been first house placement, marriage. Could have been that you were like, in order for me to be happy, I need to leave a connection. Now, what we can find is when a planet moves from one to another, sometimes it doesn't automatically happen right away. So it could be that if you really do not like a relationship you're in, and you're like, you know what, sod this, I don't want to bloody be here. It could be that you emotionally, psychologically need to come to terms with it first. The transit hit, you've already decided, and you initiate that circumstance a little bit later down the track. However, it has been activated. Another way it can play out is that you moved into a relationship, it felt very spiritual, and you went to that next level. Another way it could have played out is it could have been a career. Regardless of how it played out for you, the only planet we currently have now sitting in your zodiac sign is Uranus, and that's a little bit of a worry. And what we could find at a collective level is we may need to be careful with our Venus energy, and that can be money, values, food, because Uranus brings temperamental energy, the unexpected, generally for the better, but initially not so. As it goes retrograde, I would suggest to be prepared for your zodiac sign. So you can follow me here. Hopefully I'll have these videos more condensed and we can actually discuss those elements. Otherwise, you could book a personal reading and I can tell you the direct dates that those things are occurring on. So there can be some spiritual changes emotionally you're going through. You might be mulling over them from a personal circumstance. Where do I want to go in my life? What do I want to be? What are my deeper belief systems? Is where I'm at good for me? And the courage you're going to have to transform things. Big opportunities are coming your way. You also may need to navigate those things quite cautiously. Spiritually, I can say from the placement, because we have the South Node in a Venus sign similar to you, you are going through personal changes yourself. It has been some tough years for you. Your wellness at this point, a lot of you can be looking at different ways you can transform it. You could be looking at your routine. You could be looking at habits that we have inside a connection. Sometimes, yes, they can be self-sabotaging. Sometimes it can be, why do I put up with this crap? It's usually how you structure things. It's usually, it could be, again, breaking a habit, because sixth house can be health, diet, habits, pets, what else? Structures, routines, getting into a routine to gain the success, to gain that kind of item that you're wanting, really getting down and getting it, getting on your hands and knees and getting your hands dirty. So again, it can be a good thing. If you found you had to make some changes for wellness, because it can relate to wellness, because it's in the South Node, you're going to be forced to, but you're also going to find things that were hidden. So if you were like, I don't know why I feel off, you could get to the root cause of it, especially between now, September and October. With the placement of Aries in your North Node, which is where we're all suffering, let's be perfectly honest. I did say with the North Node in Aries, a lot of us could be quite self-centered because it's a first house placement. We're trying to find a balance between both, between other people and ourselves. And that can be a hard one to navigate, especially if we've been hurt in the past. And yours is happening over your 12th house. So, you know, the house of hidden enemies can be our belief systems. It can be our memories. It can be our fears that another person's going to repeat a pattern, or that we're going to be alone forever, or that somebody may not understand us, or that we can't trust people. We can't let people in because we need to keep to ourselves. And so it's a habit, it's a wound. And that might have been key at a point in your life, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's so now. So it's about being selective of who those people are. It's about loving yourself for your quirks of who you are. And, you know, Jupiter moving into Gemini is going to get us to a place where we accept that. So if you have felt misunderstood, if you have felt that you needed to maybe protect yourself because you didn't want to be misunderstood, you didn't want to be hurt, and maybe somebody's driven you crazy. Let's use that as a metaphor. And you've said to yourself, look, I'm this way because of this situation. That's 100%. But now how can you turn that wound into something that is very, very positive? Your beliefs also can be quite heard. So we do need to be quite cautious of that. Definitely see some beautiful opportunities for you. With it moving through this position, it can be a bit challenging. It is going to be exiting the sign, but your dreams actually with this position can come true. You also can realize, especially because Uranus has been transiting through your house, and a couple of years ago it was making squares, so it was sort of forcing you to get out of your comfort zone. You know, I always talk about the energy of Taurus as a zodiac sign that builds a pyramid for life. It's like I am building from the bottom up so I can have all the Venusian things in life and I can be safe. This is my temple. And the thing is, when Uranus comes in and pulls that temple down and goes, okay, go out there now and try something new, you're sort of like, no, I want the tried and true. This is safer because you're a logical zodiac sign. You're a sign that is creating stability and structure for life. Uranus in this position, you've been there now, okay? You've tried new things. You may feel you're scared, but you're not scared. Aries transiting over your 12th house has been helping you with that. It's been helping you to realize that no matter how old or young you are, you can actually try new things. And, you know, sometimes the old things are worse than the new things. So sometimes we are up in our heads about something and it turns out to be totally opposite to what we're fearing. So there is a great deal of an opportunity here for you to have a new beginning if you have the courage to have it. Pisces, personally, you are going to have a bit more time on your hands. You could be reviewing, you could be looking at things. You may, again, you know, Uranus is one thing, Neptune is another. You may really need to keep your nerves about you. You could have been quite tense over the last month. Saturn going retrograde, if you felt you've had too much crap on your hands, it's going to help you actually reflect upon those things. The other thing is with Saturn, we do tend to have teeth, bones, psychology, subjects to do with, you know, your goals and your aspirations, because this is all your first house. Like I said, you've got a lot of shit on your plate, right? Age can come with Saturn. And it doesn't have to be that you're old. It can just be that you're feeling really kind of bogged down with having to be the go-to person in some shape or form in your life. I also feel you've maybe needed to become very serious about certain things. Saturn has been helping you become serious to make your dreams come true. You also can be, again, because you are having a transit in the 12th house energy that you're very used to, you're very intuitive in nature, you can be very susceptible to psychic attacks. And I would say between now and the end of next month, be very cautious about going to extremes with any pacifiers. They can have quite an adverse effect, point blank. Zero and during the transits, definitely, you're going to find it can be more volatile. So to be cautious around that, you can use crystals that can support you. Again, we can drink extra fluid. You can feel more thirsty. You reaching your dreams, you're going to get there, but Rome wasn't built in a day. Both the planets between now and next month going retrograde is going to give you an opportunity to reflect upon those, but you're also going to be looking at responsibilities you were taking on that maybe you weren't supposed to. You know, the shadow sign of your zodiac sign. And, you know, when I do coaching, I talk about this to give individuals tips how to be able to navigate their career sectors or being a manager of somebody more effectively. And you tend to find when you look at your shadow sign, where is I? Because you're the first house Pisces, your shadow sign is Virgo. You are, and Lilith currently is in Virgo. So things might have been driving you a little bit batshit crazy. Why? It's because you have detail. You understand detail. Detail, however, has been potentially your worst enemy because it ends up being that you're doing everyone's job. So the key to navigating that frequency is directly to teach one person and allow the next person to teach the next person. And then you put the sword down, you've trained that individual, you're reducing one element of responsibility off your plate so you can move along to the next circumstance. However, because of this placement, it makes it bloody hard to do it. If you were a one man or one woman show, you still would have this dynamic and you'd find that you would get stuck on one direct subject. So a way to handle it is to do one, have a point where you let go and move on to the next thing. Hopefully, as we do have Jupiter in Gemini, you're going to have your shadow energy coming up, okay? So the shadow energy, again, is a Mercury sign, which your 7th house is a Mercury sign. You could be reflecting upon your connections at this point in time, your marriages, contracts, partnerships. You also may need to care for your higher heart chakra, to do with healing, to do with clearing, you know, eating food groups to support your nervous system, etc. But separately, what are your heart's desires? You know, are you being too hard on yourself or on another situation, or do you need to think about something? Do you need some more details? I'd also say with Jupiter expanding these circumstances, you know, you could have an opportunity at this point if you're wanting to move house. More than likely what you're going to get is a very large house. If your physical environment with children or family or flatmates, wherever you're living, it is going to undergo a deep change. So if there was maybe a holiday you wanted to go on or a holiday home or a caravan, it feels more an opportunity to have a home. This could be renovating it, changing it, transforming it, dealing with the conflict inside a home, but really looking at your roots, connecting in with family as well is going to be a big, big thing going on here. A lot of you are very focused on your wealth. This can also be being very protective. I would say if you are having a dispute with an individual for any given reason, I'll give you an example. Oh, you're divorced. You know, what net worth am I going to get through this? Because the North Node in Aries is here, there's a distinct possibility you could get such. Separately, it can be that you are working hard to achieve your financial goals and your assets also can be increasing. I would say to be security conscious. This could be with passwords and things to that degree online, especially around your home and your assets, because currently we do have Mars transiting from Aries into Taurus, which is in Taurus at the minute, especially vehicles. So security with your vehicles, upgrading. Some of you might buy a vehicle at this point in time as a possibility. Last but not least, we will mention the shadow energy. So Saturn's putting pressure on you. Things can alleviate. We are dealing with the old. We're trying to bring in the new. Oh, okay. So especially with assets, you are changing them. This can be the 8th house with Libra can be interesting. So it can be finding things that you didn't know. Shared wealth, shared resources, subjects and partnerships transforming, other people's money, tax. Those things are shifting. The way you do things in that area is shifting. It also could be to do with inheritances, an old situation. definitely those areas are changing. So how you share, what the give and take is, if you have been in several connections and you felt that it was one-sided, now what you're looking for is something equal. But there definitely can be, for those of you in a relationship or in a contract receiving money from another entity or business, what more an entity, so it can be like a government payment or something to that degree. It could be some interest coming from savings. Those are some examples of the eighth house. What you're going to find is it's changing. Okay, it's changing. It's going to evolve. You can't do it the same anymore, and it will transform. But what it's going to provide you with is a physical foundation. So you could be thinking, this is really crap right now. When's it going to come together? It is going to come together. It's just about moving through this transition as Jupiter's ingressed into Gemini, navigating that, trying to tweak things in life, which again, it could be some fine tuning at home. Some of you could be working from home. Some of you could be dealing with family, having conversations, getting to the crux of situations, setting some goals, making them realistic, making them tangible, setting a deadline. But Rome wasn't built in a day. Okay, so just be realistic with that placement. Deep conversations and revelations. And I do think a lot of you are directly thinking about your future. Scorpio, this is an interesting time for you. And I did mention this in the members. I can't believe how many zodiacs. Wow, okay, we're getting there. So Scorpio, Pluto is retrograde, so it's directly linking to you. The other thing is Pluto is going to ingress back into the house of Capricorn, which is going to be interesting. It's going to bring some old circumstances back up again. That doesn't mean that it is bad, but it will nevertheless bring those changes. Now, currently, the hard aspects we're having are linking to your fifth house. So it can be inner child wounds, it can be creativity, wanting to play, maybe, feeling bogged down financially, don't have time to do this, don't have time to do that. Your childhood also, as a theory, can be something that is coming up. You also may be very strict on yourself, that in order to have fun, it could be that you're needing to, what would I say, be more strict. This also can be anything down to subjects to do with fertility, age, fertility, looking at those dynamics. There also could be your psychology surrounding romances, what the intimate connections are. The funny thing is, fifth house, and, I was so contemplating this over the years. Fifth house can be a fling, okay? It's not the seventh house or the ninth house or the eighth house. It's the fifth house. It's playful banter. It's flirtation. Now, could it be, if you are in a relationship, that it's recharging the relationship and it's bringing chemistry back to it? It's wining, dining, eating. Yes, it can be. But belief systems around connections, I do think, will be in review, point blank. During the retrograde, what you can find is, if you were hurt by a person in the past, the retrograde with Saturn moving retrograde, Neptune moving retrograde, you're going to reflect upon it. You could go down memory lane of this thing. That doesn't have to be a bad thing. The other thing is stress levels in the house of the undoing and habits can come up with the North Node in Aries. Chiron currently is here. I would say keep an eye on when Chiron is going retrograde later this year, or you can follow us here and we will give you a heads up. Those will be some key times to really pay close attention to your wellness. This is a bit of a detox time at the moment with Jupiter entering Gemini, although we could overindulge in particular areas or particularly go off-road depending on our zodiac sign. With the expansion, Jupiter is going to be expanding your 8th house. So it could be suddenly you have revelations that you need to deal with tax, debt, sex, legacies, inheritances, wanting to get a savings plan, looking at different ways to generate an income, within partnerships, money that's owed to you, or looking at your loans and getting things in order is going to be quite a key theme. Now, Jupiter's going to expand these dynamics. So what it can do, it also could be things linking to a car, things linking to technology, things linking to a sibling in the mix of these circumstances, and how you can navigate it. They also could be inheritances, because it's almost like, okay, well, in order to liberate myself, do I need to, look to that situation? But it can be what you want to leave behind in a legacy sense as well. Now, the other thing I would say is the difficulty at the moment is, where it does come to contracts, marriages, contracts, partnerships, spiritually, it is transiting over your 12th house. So it can be that you are needing to mentally change the way you see, perceive, and deal with things, that you're opening up, but it's also, there can be, again, I'll say, a lot of shadow work, a lot of beliefs. I directly was talking to a spiritual friend, and we were talking about the reality of relationships, and how, many times, if we knew what a toxic relationship was, at times we would say, gee, I've got it good. Okay, it's not great, I'd really love to be in a relationship, but after you've experienced a toxic relationship, being alone ain't that bad. Because you also go through the stages in the various houses to get to know who you are, so you can get to a space where you directly can say, you know what, now I'm open to a relationship, because I know who I am, I know what I like, I know what I don't like. I'm not going to try and be someone I'm not. We go through the first house all the way through to the 12th house, so that we can have a new chapter. And this is a new chapter for you. You may not believe that you're going to have everything you want out of marriages, contracts, partnerships. You could feel it's all in your head. You could feel it's never going to happen, but Rome wasn't built in a day, and some of the things mentally do need to change. So it can be the way you see things. It could be going to counseling, going to coaching, reviewing things, having faith in yourself, looking outside the box, doing things differently. There's a term coming to mind. No, it's gone. So, beliefs to do with connections, definitely transforming and changing. Definitely, I see that. But there is new chapters here. There can be some great difficulty at the moment where it does come to, it could be a mother energy, it could be needing to level up, needing to pull the belt in where it does come to wealth. It could be things around a child or children if you have children. And looking after the wellness and health. But that's going to be quite key for you proceeding forward. But big chapters. The 7th house at the moment, you may need to be very cautious around superiors at this point in time, especially bosses, because Mars is transiting through your 7th house. You also can be more passionate, sassy, and open to connections and intimacy. There also could be an individual, and it's funny because Mars and Taurus, are you being pursued or are you being the pursuer? That's what I'm hearing, and it could be that you're changing it up and looking at a different way of relating. Cancer, now all lunations tend to directly affect you, as well as Leo, especially eclipses. So if you haven't heard that before, take it on board, because moving forward for your life, you will know to prepare prior to eclipses and lunations, that you are sort of that energy, very similar to the ocean coming in and out. You get the ebbs and flows. You're also very intuitive. Now, big things to do with your connection later in the year are going to come up, especially this month, because we are having a moon in Capricorn that I will discuss a little bit later. But you particularly can be having this transit happening over your 12th house. Again, you may find there's too much going on. You could feel very fatigued at this point. You've got a lot going on intellectually. You're going to go down the rabbit hole of having so many creative ideas. It's ridiculous. Almost like Magic Mike of the brain. Journal them down. If you have stresses, journal them down. You see the bigger picture. It's almost like X-ray vision, and you are going to map it out. I would say keep your cards close to your chest. Your ideas can be really radical, and I definitely feel as though if you do protect yourself, your success will come. Listen to your body. If you are going too far, too much, too extreme, stick up for yourself. Say your piece. Explain how you feel. Also feel a lot of you are going to start becoming very, very interested in, occult wisdom, spirituality, philosophy. You could be reflecting back to previous times when you felt very caged in. And again, I think you're going to be very private, very protective, especially of any sacred connection, intimate connection. You're going to be very, very private in nature. You could also be doing a little bit of shadow work where it does come to your belief systems, the feelings you have towards yourself, and what you want to have in this brand new chapter of yours. Mars at the moment is linking to your 11th house. You could be overspending, but you also could have a lot more social responsibilities on your plate. There also could be some issues around hierarchy and superiors. But I'm finding you're going to be working extremely hard for cash. And I do feel Lady Luck is there for you where it does come to this. Now, look, I wouldn't be surprised if many of you have really been thinking about your future where it comes to your family, your home. It could be feminine energies. It could be beautifying home. Something's changing in the home environment. You also could feel it's taken a long time to get everything where it needs to be. And I feel this is really activating big changes. And I think you could be working hard towards a major goal. So again, if you were wanting to buy a house and you don't have that yet, this could be a goal that you're moving through. You could see some significant changes between September and October. But again, the steps and the cogs in the wheel already landed. This was back in March. And as we're proceeding forward, because we did have Mercury retrograde, it's kind of been in delay. And I feel now creatively the cogs are spinning. So this is you believing in yourself. This is you taking things in a new direction. I definitely feel from a social point of view, you also could feel spiritually that your style of fun is changing. And what you do and who you mix with is changing as well. I just feel this deep, deep transformation where it comes to the individuals in your life. Now, social groups have been increasing. Some of those can be changing for you. The way you perceived them previously to now is definitely evolving, Cancer. I also do feel you could be having money that is owed to you coming back to you, tying up loose ends where it comes to that monetary aspect. And I do feel you making the changes within any joint resources, investments definitely are coming up. This could be where you are attracting in very positive things. And if you were thinking to have a blast from the past, don't be surprised if they start showing up. Libra, big year for you and for Aries. This has been some pretty hard kind of transits for you guys. And it's funny, I was having a chat to a spiritual friend of mine, and it's like, when's Libra going to get a break, huh? Saturn has been causing some issues, my loves, okay? Saturn has been putting an awful lot of pressure on us the last week. There's been some squares. We've had it to Venus. We also, from an emotional point of view, could have looked at our marriages, contracts, partnerships, and thought, is this going to get any better, or do I have to carry everything? Now, there can be some habits that we physically have, because again, Pisces linking to the 6th house can be some habits that we have. Are they the unhealthy boundaries? I think a big key theme that's going on at the moment with Libra is, Libra is the human resource energy. They're the individuals that go in and want to make sure that everyone's okay. They want to balance it out and make sure that people are getting what they need. I do directly feel that there's going to be some major opportunities for you in your marriages, contracts, and partnerships. Reconciliations also are possible. For you spiritually, you could have some major changes where it does come to your 9th house. Now, this could be getting married. This could be taking a connection to the next level. I mean, yes, ultimately, by the end of the transit, if you did not want that anymore, you could change it. Tying up loose ends from the past at the moment, though, I definitely feel some deep reflection to do with maybe past connections you had, very reflective in nature, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Moving into wanting some more fun, wanting to travel, maybe looking at foreign countries. This could be anything down to journalism, higher study and learning, your deeper philosophies, religion, occult, wisdom. It's going to be quite big for you. You also, depending on what industry you work in, it can expand those areas and opportunities. And I definitely feel for you guys, you are going to have an extremely busy year. So grasp at the moment the hard aspects with Saturn are actually going to aid you in the long term because they're going to give you a break. It's almost like, you know, no sooner have you gone through one wave, another one's been coming. Saturn going retrograde is going to alleviate some of that. Neptune going retrograde also is going to help you fine tune and make any slight changes to attain that goal you wish to achieve. Is it to reconcile? Is it to create a business? Whatever that physical thing is, I do directly feel that there can be some changes happening. Now, for those of you that were dealing with teeth, bones, wellness in any shape or form, the retrograde, it's going to give you a double check. Okay. What it's going to do is it could be missing paperwork, missing details, information that you weren't told. Things can be coming up with your pets, looking outside the box. What it's going to do is take some of the pressure off, and as it goes direct, you can have some huge success with those particular areas. Teeth, bones, resting, new habits, new routines, new nutrition, change situations with animals. You could get a pet. So keep an eye on that area. Now, like I said, as to love, big changes, but you physically are changing, Libra. The South Node's in your zodiac sign. The old Libra is dead and gone. Come September, October, you probably won't even recognize yourself anymore. You are going to be a different individual. Your personality, your image, how you show up, it's going to be different. Anything else I need to say for Libra? As to the fun, the things that you used to find fun, they're not fun anymore. Now, Pluto is in Aquarius. It takes a very long time because it's quite slow moving. I feel the next ingress into Aquarius is going to give you more of an idea of your creative pursuits, situations with your kids, your romantic style, doing things with fun. I also feel that many of you are looking for a more serious relationship. No faffs about it. There are options for some of you to actually have a very deep, deep connection. And I do directly feel with the placements in astrology, as things wrap up, especially moving into next year, whatever we move into is going to be for very long-term ways. So you're setting yourself up for the future, and it is going to be positive. Now, Gemini, this is a very interesting moon. And yes, although we could have started with your zodiac sign, I was running out of time. I love you to bits, Gemini. Now, big personal opportunities. Yes, you could get married. Yes, your horizon's going to expand. Now, to counteract the Jupiter energy, so it goes positively, it moves into a physical thing that you're wanting to grow. It's your first house. Try to wear loose clothes over this year. And what inadvertently then can happen is your lifestyle, your opportunities, they change, not you. Because in the first house or the sixth house or the seventh house, not so much, yeah, maybe, we can have weight gain. It expands things. Fifth house, yeah, definitely the fifth house. Jupiter transiting the fifth house. So be aware of that. Counteract it by shifting the energy into a physical goal that you have. and that energy will expand. But definitely, it's only for a year. Tends to mean its detriment. Try to not over schedule yourself, because what you'll find is if you have too much on your plate, you're just not going to cope. So be very careful with over scheduling yourself, but also be very careful of your deeper philosophies, and believing one way you're going to want a connection, but you're also going to need to be independent. Now, this can be something naturally in you, or something that you're needing to integrate. You also might be trying to control an outcome only because Jupiter in the ninth house, and currently it's linking to the ninth house. Jupiter sort of in your first house, linking to those subject matters. It was having hard aspects this month. Okay, so what can happen is we're reflective of the past, especially with the pending Capricorn moon. So this isn't how we're going to completely experience Jupiter and Gemini, but the transits at this point in time, there's a possibility that you physically can feel life is going to be one set genre. Life is going to come out a certain way, and that can be a very negative feeling. You also can be healing over previous connections. It's going to get better. Don't overschedule yourself, because, Jupiter's like, let's do everything. Let's go have fun. And Gemini's like, well, hang on a minute. I got bored of that. I want to go do this now, and so you're trying to be realistic with what you can manage. If you felt over the last few months life had been unmanageable, do things to structure your life. Saturn going into retrograde is going to benefit that. What can I say for the area that Saturn is hitting for you? It's your 10th house, so it's your employment, so it's your physical purpose. You could be too strict on yourself that you should have got your shit together and been where you needed to be ages ago. Saturn retrograding, Neptune gearing up, ready to go retrograde. You may feel disillusioned. You may have also absolute downloads how to make something a possibility. And also it will make you feel more responsible, but it would also make you look at the whole term and situation completely different. Now, where it comes to your career, how can you structure it effectively? How can you get it to a point that it is more balanced? How can you allow things to naturally unfold and not just believe something a certain way, because it's almost like self-sabotage? Because there's a lot of psychology behind Pisces. It's the 12th house is the house of imprisonment. It's the mental vault. It can be the house of undoing. It can be the house of mental asylums or of gurus. So yes, you could be dealing with guru energy. You could be learning a lot about it as well. You may need to learn more about it and be open. So it's sort of activating two areas: your belief systems of the old and being open to looking at life through a new lens in a different way, doing things a different way. Definitely, I see a lot to do with your career. You may need to be very realistic about some of these things, because A, Rome wasn't built in a day, and B, you can't be in 50 places at once. So if you've already felt that to be a burden, it's time to knuckle down and structure. Okay, structure so you can have that success. Be aware of your limits. It's okay to say no. What else do I need to tell you? Okay, and if you were saying to yourself, look, maybe I should stay single, maybe a fling would do, a bit of banter, I think, again, it's asking you to really review what you're looking for. Review what you're looking for. Old things and social experiences you were doing, you may be outgrowing all of a sudden. Things to do with a child, if you have children, can be changing. Your connection with those individuals is changing. The things you're creating from a creative point of view is changing. So this could be Anything down to wearing makeup. It could be, you know, making a sculpture, creating, you know, anything Venus of value. You could be thinking, how do I bring value into the world? How do I do that? Fifth house also with this, you know, it could have been anything to do with, hey, you wanted 20 kids, but it's the South Node. Is that still relevant to you? Has it changed? Has it, something there is changing. Something there definitely is changing. Now, there could be extra responsibilities. The thing is with the 11th house, how can I say it? I can say that you are going to have more responsibilities, and it's going to ask you. It's also going to ask you to be quite independent. You're going to have to be independent within the realm of maybe career projects. You also could be looking at your wealth and working hard for wealth, and it might be creating a savings plan and needing to get wealth in order. But definitely, they're saying, you know, whatever this is, whatever this goal is, you're going to be working hard. So be very careful about, you know, kind of what you're ushering in. For a short term, yes. For a long term, it could be quite complicated. Now, Aquarius, you could be getting the cuspy energy of this Capricorn energy coming through, only because Pluto is going to ingress back into Capricorn. Now, because it's a cusp energy, you know, it takes a long time for Pluto to move. It's almost like we've been in both energies. We've been in both Aquarius and Capricorn. And you're going to definitely pick that up. You might have had some reprieve, but I do feel this, you know, some anxiousness as the months proceed and Pluto ingresses back into the house of Capricorn, and we have this Capricorn moon. You're going to have a lot to do with your beliefs. You could be going down memory lane. With the, with the moon in Gemini, you could be very fertile. So be very careful of that. You could be very, very fertile. You also could be, you know, wanting to have fun, wanting to, you know, come to a point that you are more creative, are more social. You're going to really crave play. You're going to really, you could be looking at school. You could be looking at, you know, wanting to get a new car. Your communication style and how you talk can be really going through changes. You may want to learn a language. You could be socializing and hosting parties. You could be hearing from individuals of the past. This also can be somebody that maybe had a fling with that becomes more serious, and it could go the distance. You also are trying to interpret between what could be and what couldn't be. But really, for those of you in relationships, it can be more social. This also could be a creative project that turns into maybe a business of some description. But I definitely do see a potential of, you know, traveling abroad or going on small trips, doing things for, you know, fun and play, doing things from a creative point of view, mixing with siblings. Definitely seeing fertility here. Hmm. Okay, the big changes can be maybe there is some paperwork, maybe you do philosophies, maybe things to do with school is changing. Maybe you're saying to yourself, okay, maybe I should go and upskill. And yes, it can be that you do. It is the South Node after all. You could be going in a complete different direction than where you were before. Tying up loose ends relating to paperwork, you know, protecting yourself, situations of the past. I do feel you do need to be security conscious around the home environment. You also could be more accident prone around the home environment, and you could be more passionate around your physical home environment. I feel you're wanting to beautify it. It just feels busy. You're going to have a lot of busyness surrounding the home environment and family. Hmm. For some of you, yes, I do see a physical vehicle change. I do see a contract also transforming and changing. And for some of you, I do actually see a move of home. Yeah, this could be a little bit unexpected. I feel you're quite protected. Or it merely can be that you're wanting to recharge the home, change it up, and again, being busy. I don't see anything negative here. I would say be cautious around Pisces going retrograde. This can be being cautious around your wealth. Again, your wealth, your assets, money owed, what you do want in your house and what you don't. Some of you actually may want to get rid of some things because you're feeling they had some bittersweet kind of memories to them. And so some of the assets you're wanting to sell, it's like it doesn't resonate with you anymore. You want to get rid of them. And again, if you were wanting to generate more income, many of you are making sort of short-term sacrifices for a big, big goal. And it is going to mean that all these sacrifices you're going through at this point in time, especially from a financial point of view, and if things have been a bit dry, I'm actually seeing as transits move away from the House of Pisces, it's almost like that karmic lesson is wrapped up and it alleviates that area and you actually gain the success for the structure and the discipline that you had. So rest assured that is changing, and especially from a perspective of relationships and connections, I do directly feel you're changing. Maybe how you're realizing that there's big changes for you, there's big opportunities, you're changing now. So inevitably, things that you attract in your life are going to be very different because you're changing. Sag, this really links to you, okay? You are a Jupiter sign, okay? Your relationship sector is really going to go under the microscope. Now, Jupiter in Gemini, and this is for you, Gemini, and it's for you, Sagittarius, both of you are going to go through this. There can be good and bad things about this placement. If people are trying to control you, it's going to piss you off. If you cannot have your autonomy, respect and freedom, philosophies and belief systems, you are going to get shitty at it. Jupiter is going to expand whatever is in your vibration. It may be that for some of you, it can mean that you are going to get married within this 1 year gap. And generally after the transit has moved out, sometimes it can come through 3 to 6 months after it's transitioned out of the sign. But 9 times out of 10, it was already activated. We had a new moon. There could be some old circumstances that you are looking over from the past. There could be a blast from the past coming back. If you're in a relationship, again, reviewing the past. If it's a very toxic relationship, this can be the need to actually go your separate ways. But this would be your physical choice. It would be an irked feeling, a transformation. I do feel opportunities are opening up for you. So if you felt that things weren't moving, yes, you can find someone who's more spiritually connected. You can become more connected to your physical partner if you're in one. You may want to recharge the communication within in the dynamic and getting into routines, getting into new routines, being playful, getting to the root cause of issues, looking at contracts, spreading your wings, going the distance, doing things differently, maybe initially starting at the bottom and working to the top. But sometimes this can be in a brand new career, and what would take a person 10 years, it's only going to take you a year to get to the top. So I want you to keep that in mind during this time. Now, it doesn't mean to say that most of these decisions, I would say mid-month to the end of the month. Make major decisions for change. Some of the things, you may be getting rid of something though. You could be getting rid of something. Could it be emotional space junk? It could be. Could it be getting rid of something that is Venus? Yeah, it could be leaving a contract. Could be leaving a partnership. But automatically what you will find is whatever is happening, it is for the best. It also can be expanding things that are opposite polarities and looking at, it's almost like polar abdul, opposites attract. So, look at it from that perspective. Now, the other thing I do see for you, Sag, you can be very fertile. You can be very creative. You can also be feeling accused at times, maybe of having an affair, accused at times, and you can be pushing back. You also can be feeling you want more fun, you want more play, you want to have your inner child there. You're defending your right to have the things that you are interested in from a creative pursuit. You also could be working very hard creatively to achieve a dream here, which can bring success. I do feel you're going to have more vitality this month. Even though Jupiter is going to fatigue you psychologically, I definitely do feel there's an opportunity here that you can have a lot more energy. You also could be looking at your image and wanting to change it. Hmm. Home and family and your environment, definitely I see changing. Your responsibilities around that area as well can be changing. You can be thinking about it. Some of you may need to come to terms with the circumstance before you actually decide to proceed forward. You also could be sharing some emotions with family. You could be opening up and sharing some feelings. This could be fears, this could be hopes or dreams. Home-based businesses also during this time, if you've had too much going on and you haven't been able to balance. As it retrogrades, you're going to find over the next few months, you're going to be able to catch up. And I definitely see you reconnecting with friends, but in a healthy, different way. Okay, two more, and then I will answer any questions. Leo, big changes, especially with Pluto in the House of Aquarius. You can really be reflecting upon what you could be really nostalgic and romantic. You know, you could have some obsession going on at the moment, and that's because Pluto, very eighth house energy, can bring about obsession. This could be passionately thinking about somebody. This also could be very protective energy where it does come to your marriages, contracts, partnerships. You could be looking at different ways. You could be actually having individuals pay you to be trained. What's an example? Within your career, you could be doing one set tier job. They actually, with their money, can be actually paying you to get trained. That's one example. But I definitely do see some positive energy for your zodiac sign, but it is coming about with change. I see a contract under review. I see a car maybe changing. I see the way you communicate and your nutrition evolving and changing. Hmm. I do feel you do need to look after your wellness. Money that's owed can be coming back to you. You could be looking at maybe you're saving for an item. This could be a tax return that's coming back to you, working on a tax return. You could be concerned about wealth. You could be looking at different ways to achieve this. You could be second guessing yourself that you're actually able to do this at all. I also feel some shadow energy with your wellness at the moment. There could be some circumstances coming up, especially between now and the end of the month. Be careful around superiors at this point in time. There can be some conflict, but I also feel your working environment can be extremely busy. I do see major wealth coming your way, but you may need to be cautious. There could be a big lump sum coming your way. This could be a physical win. This could be going for a loan to get a large ticket item. I do feel over the next 12 months, there are opportunities for large purchases, taking on extra responsibility, especially in a physical business or employment. I do see a circumstance changing relating to a sibling. And I definitely see you taking on a lot more responsibility. It's almost like once you've decided to do something, you're going to get in there and do it. And I do feel your purpose also could be really under question at this point in time, but you can be very, it's almost like you're defending it. I see you as defending your beliefs. Whatever this is, especially if this is like a loan for a house or a loan for a holiday or a business, whatever it is, it's big. Now, as I mentioned in Libras, Aries, you are going through a hard one. Okay. Now, whenever we have the North Node in the first house, it's personal. It's almost like throwing you on a stage, handing you a microphone and saying, what do you want now? And you're like, well, can I have anything? Or going to the ice cream man's turned up and you're looking at it and they say, what flavor would you like? And you're like, well, do I have to have one? Can I have them all? It's like, yes, you can. Jupiter, however, is going to increase these energies. You might have been working very hard. Mars also gave you a bit of warmth in a particular area where you were being charged with energy. So it might have given you a lot, but also because we did have previous Mercury retrograde, pardon me, plus we then had other transits that were really relating to psychology, we would have got very run down. It's been like go, go, go. You know, we're almost halfway through the year. I do particularly feel that, you know, you really could be reviewing, this could be your material value, a physical asset. Do I keep it? Do I get rid of it? You could also have bought a lot of things for the home physical environment. Your material value also could be increasing. There also could be a pay rise for some of you. Some of you could be getting sort of this energy through another area. This could be through investments, selling an asset that you feel no longer resonates with you. You at a personal level are changing. You feel quite burdened. You feel everything's at you. You also could be feeling you're trying to navigate connections, point blank zero. There could have been some triggers that come up in the last few weeks. I do particularly feel some of you are feeling that, you know, something is really getting the better of you. You're wondering if it's ever going to end. You're wondering if a cycle that you're living in is going to remain the same constantly. And I do feel you're going to have some light bulb moments. You could have a little peace that comes to your mind. I do feel you need to be less hard on yourself. Where it does come to your direction and purpose, things are going to make sense. But what you felt was your purpose at one point, and especially if this does relate to a career, you could actually, if you felt that, hey, you know, you're on the fence about it, I really hate this, I don't know if I like doing it. It could be that a superior is leaving, but it also could be that you're moving up a level in a career, or you're going to literally walk completely in the opposite direction. But I definitely do see a change happening in the career. Where it does come to love, the bugbear and the hard one is the way you relate to romance is changing. Now, when we have a South Node eclipse happening in your Venus sign, A, what you're attracted to changes. B, what you will accept changes. This can be, it's a yin and yang, so at some points you will see where you have bad patterns and habits in these areas. In other points, you can look at things and it can be the other people or individuals that have bad, but something in this is changing. The South Nodes in Libra, significant events September and October for you. You may need to integrate. You are going to have a lot more. Some of you also could be looking at business and saying, could be work or employment, and you're looking at things and you're feeling you're needing to be more local. Okay, you're going to have a lot to do. There could be more talking involved. There could be more commuting. I do see a different vehicle. You could be weighing the pros and cons between growing small or growing fast, flying or driving, staying or going. There's a left or right here. Okay, there definitely is a left and right. Okay, as to bookings, we do have bookings via the website. Yes, all the information is under below. We also do have a membership that will have pre-release content, coaching, astrology, and more. And yes, by supporting, you can actually click the like button. You could share it with a friend. You could comment on the video. And you know, by being here, it actually does support the channel. Do we have any quick questions in the house before I love you and leave you? Thank you for hanging about. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully next time I'll have it more condensed so we can get straight into the point. A lot of my charts were here, there, and everywhere. But I really just wanted to come to you guys from a logical point of view. I definitely can say at this point in time, what we do need to know about these aspects is give yourself a bit of time when it does come to these new directions. We may feel very, very frustrated that we're not getting anywhere fast. There are particular areas in your chart, they're going to change each month. So it's not going to be that that's the sentence the whole way through the year. It's a key point that's aspecting because of our moon. Be aware of your surroundings. Be cautious driving. Be cautious traveling. Be cautious gossiping. Be logical when it comes to misunderstandings, because I do feel, especially from a communication point of view, we can get very a lot of crosswires. The other thing I can say is plan for the bigger picture, but don't get caught up in all the details, because a lot of these details can bring us stuck. Jupiter wants to get going. Gemini wants to think about it. We've got to find a healthy medium in between, and that can be very challenging. The other thing is, as we do move into 2025, this is the intro to the Gemini energy in this particular area, but the planet it's moving into can cause sudden change that we're not ready for. I feel our schedules at times are going to go into disarray because Jupiter expands things, and what is Gemini? It's our daily routine. So I just feel we need to be very realistic about how we can get some more private time, how we can get that personal time, that work-life balance, how we can navigate our lives with instant changing dynamics going on, both in our own worlds and at a collective level. So I feel that the root of it is tying up loose ends, could be dealing with some situations of the past at the moment, feeling bogged down and negative because we're really in the thick of that vibration. But I think as we do move through this month, it's going to alleviate some of that pressure, and that new energy we can actually usher in. But we could feel like naughty kids cramming homework and wanting to get to a space that we're just moving in that brand new direction. Now, I will answer your questions. So if you do chuck them in the video at the end, I will come back and answer your questions. I hope you enjoyed this webinar. And again, if you do have any questions, feel free to drop a PM in the video and I will get straight back to you. See you soon.